Good evening. My name is Mutgren, and welcome to Dad's Old Shop. Different type of stream today. I am indeed back. Hey, Sugi. Uh, After like a month of not streaming, I was enjoying December. Also, just a lot of A, family stuff comes up, but B, a lot of just life change stuff, which is good life change stuff. Nothing like bad life change stuff. Uh, Part of it is the incredible addition of physical fitness, uh, which is overall, I mean, not overall good. It is just a good thing that happened. It just happened by itself. And it got me into playing volleyball, of all things, uh, which I am super grateful for. And because of how brain chemistry work, I tend to hyperfixate on stuff. So instead of, uh, yakking together a game or interrupting the long process of reorganizing the shop to start a project, which I do need to complete, but I don't want to. I don't want to rush it and then be in the same place I already was. I figured I just take some time. I have some clips, some stuff to go over, just about like getting started in physical activity as well as just like team sports. As somebody who's a bit older, because I in the place where I play volleyball, I am the newest person to volleyball. And that is an adjustment. And it's something that seems like it'd be super embarrassing. And it's as embarrassing as any other time you go up to strangers and say, hey, let's do something for, an hour and a half. So um, just, going over those things. The first part of it is just signing up for team sports. I'm lucky. I have a YMCA near me, which does have team sports that you can sign up for. Sometimes for some of them, you do have to be members. For the specific program that I do, it's free if you're a member. If not, it's like a $50 fee. But I know some other places, it's specifically for volleyball, will charge like $300 for a season. If they do tournaments, that's usually the going rate because that usually includes a space. Because volleyball courts are hard to find. Um, Usually they share space with a basketball court, and basketball tends to take priority because more people know how to play it, and um, you have you need more people to get a good game of volleyball. I've played 4-on-4 volleyball, and it is fun. It's definitely fun, um, but you wouldn't call that a full game. Basketball gets a lot of return on investment for small playing spaces. Like for a full court with two hoops, you can have two games of, you know, 8 people aside. Once you get to 5-on-5 for basketball, you probably want to use the full court. That's today when I went to go practice. They were doing half court 3-on-3 until they got enough people, and then they did full court, which is when I left, which is fine. Um, so just fine. Yeah, team sports. Team sports is great. It makes you responsible to other people, uh, which sounds, daunting. But as long as you all know what you're there for, and as long as you show effort, everybody's been pretty cool. I've met a fair amount of people that have repeatedly shown up because my program does it a little bit weird. Not weird. Well, YMCA's often are broken into branches. So like there's each one isn't an individual usually. Usually they're part of a collective. So there's another YMCA near me that is much bigger for volleyball because it has more courts and it's a newer facility. The facility that I play at is very small. It is basically a basketball court, and it has a 25-foot ceiling, maybe 30 tops, um, which sounds really high, but it is not. The first serve, the last 2 games, I hit directly into the ceiling. Um, I could have served it better, but 2 other people had their first serves go directly into the ceiling. So when the height of a net is 8 feet and you're looking to get a ball up to 12 feet, which is above like the antenna line, um, the effort to get it to 12 feet and the effort to get it higher to 5 feet is actually not that much different, and usually can be done by accident. Oftentimes is. Uh, so we do 6-on-6 volleyball, which is your standard team size, but not your standard play type, because it's not an organized like league or anything like that. It is just kind of people show up, we start playing, and we adjust teams as need be. There's an organizer, and there's some people that have played for a while, and they tend to break down people. Like I usually get put on a team that has players that are better than me, because I am usually the worst player there, which is fine. I'm getting better every time. Um, I'm more consistent than some of the better players, um, which means I don't score as much, but also I usually don't make as many errors in certain parts of the game, which is reassuring. Um, and we try to make it so that each game is competitive and not have too many blowouts. Um, the group that I play with it's a wide range of people. We have some people that I think are like 16 because you have to be 15 to play, and they're like high school athletes, so they're really physically active and fit and able to do all that, but they make a lot of mistakes. Comes with the territory. And then we have some people that are like in their late 50s, early 60s, and they're kind of the opposite. Their knees don't bend. So they're not usually as good at receiving when there's a ground ball or something like that. But they tend to have a lot more control of the ball when it gets near them, and they tend to be a lot more consistent on their hits, even if they don't jump very often. We have one or two that jump, but there's one older guy. I think he's the oldest guy there. I think I've seen him maybe jump a maximum of 3 inches once. He has the advantage of being like 6'4", so he doesn't need to jump that much, and he's just a long-armed individual. It also has to be interesting to be that old and play volleyball. I grew up with the modern game of volleyball, and the modern game of volleyball is anybody can score at any time. Doesn't really matter where you get the ball over to it, as long as you get it over, it happens. Volleyball as a sport didn't have people to score that weren't the server until like the 80s. I think it was the 80s, maybe the early 90s. Beach volleyball changed that way earlier. That's what kind of what got more popular for a while. But indoor volleyball, the only person who could serve or score points for the first 80 years of the game was the server. Everything else was just trying to get into position to make sure you had the next serve. And the game is much better this way. It's a lot more kinetic, a lot more fun. Uh, like, I can't imagine being in actual position and not, like, the libero position existed. And because they can't serve, they're literally just a defensive specialist. And I can't imagine how bad that feels when you can serve from the back line, but not actually score points. So you have all this effort and all these sub skills. Also, a lot of like the serves that you see on a lot of media are also pretty new. Like the jump float serve, I think was first done in the 90s, and overhand serves were the 70s. And the game's been around since late 1800s, early 1900s. It's one of the older games. It's right. I think it's like the 1880s, like right around basketball time, similar. In fact, for I think the first bit of history, they used basketballs, which horrifies me because that would hurt so bad to hit. Like a volleyball is already kind of stiff, and I use a Mikasa ball, and thankfully our group does too. Mikasa has some nice volleyballs. They are responsive. They have a good plush feel to them. A lot of volleyballs are actually pretty hard, and to go to that to a volleyball, I don't know how people didn't break their wrist trying to do that at all. Yeah, one of the best ways for to be people better than you. Yes, to a point. There is, and I don't think less of them for this. But when people are used to a level of competition, it can be hard for them to find enjoyment when that level of competition drops. And I know there's a couple people that I've seen and have not come back. And partially they might just have had life changes, but I know some of them just enjoy a higher level of competition, which, when I'm there, you don't 100% get. I'm very streaky. Also, I'm not as fit as them. So I usually tap myself out at game like 3 or 4 out of 5 or 6 games, depending on how time goes. Because those usually by the last, like I played 5 games last week coming back because I took a week off, and I was a zombie for that last game. I was there. I was a standing man emoji. I was not an asset to the team in the least. So I'm getting better. This all started for me to start a sport I think it was like in September. My job has us do like screenings for things, just regular screenings. Helps keep our insurance down. And I had some blood test results that were uh, out of where you'd want them to be. More specifically, was a blood glucose one that was high, which my family is not doesn't have a huge history of diabetes, but it is something that is just there. Um, and I think over a long enough time span, most people end up at least partially diabetic. So uh, the way to adjust that was physical activity, changing how I eat, um, and I knew just going to the gym was not going to satisfy that because that's being responsible to me, and I got me into this mess in the first place. Um, Also, it's hard to find a gym partner. You think like I have a wife. We go to the gym. She likes to go to the gym by herself and watch TV, and she doesn't want to worry about having to bring our child because there is like a daycare part of it, which is nice. But there's certain hours, and you still have to bring the child. So she likes to go by herself. I'd go by myself, and then I'm just like lifting weights or just being on a treadmill. I knew I wouldn't keep with it, so I looked through their things, and I was just like, well, I could play sport. I'm terrible at basketball. Being a dwarf means you're short, and basketball is one of those games where height gives you such an advantage, especially if you can't shoot or do the basic rules of basketball. I played basketball mostly by fouling out because I don't understand how physical contact works in that game. Doesn't make sense to me. Doesn't make sense. But I did see volleyball, and you know, it was intimidating at first. Everybody was really nice, at first too. Um, they were put in the awkward position because I think most of the people that have ever signed up for that or people that played volleyball before. So nobody wanted to tell me what I needed to do because they wanted to, not be rude. Um, and at different points, I had to go to people and say, "Hey, you could tell me when I'm messing up. You could tell me when I need to be somewhere else. You can feel free. I have no idea what I'm doing." Does a blood donation do A1C? So they haven't, but the standard blood test did have A1C on it. So I got that done as well. And it wasn't like super high. My doctor is actually I've been very lucky to have my primary care physician for like, oh God, over a decade? Over a decade now. Um, and she had hooked me up with like, what do you call those? It's like a blood glucose monitor that goes into your arm and it stays there. And she was like, here's a sample. Put this on for a week and just see what happens. She's like, you're not really getting diagnosed with anything yet. This isn't super worrying. You haven't had any of the other issues. So just figure out what is doing what. And that was really helpful to see what changes, like what foods spike blood glucose and stuff. But a big takeaway from that is that my blood sugar never went out of normal range high. So like, regardless of what I did, it would still be in a normal range for somebody that doesn't have diabetes, which is good. The thing that my body didn't do well was reduce the fasting level. So it was always slightly above where it should be, even after not eating for 12 hours. And there are some points where your body wants to do it. Like when you wake up, your body gives you some glucose to get you going. But like my body would just never get to that fast point where it was within a normal range. So it wasn't like an immediate problem. So she was like, here, take this. We'll schedule a follow-up in 3 months. And you know what you need to do because my college degree is actually in nutrition science. So she's like, I know you know what you need to do. You just have to do it. And some people, I think, complain about their doctors because their doctors don't do what they want them to do. But I'm very lucky in that my doctor is somebody who's willing to listen and just treat me with the respect that you want from a medical provider. Like, I could see a different doctor wanting to try to do something active instead of just having, encouraging me to do just what I need to do, which, I appreciate that. So usually, I think they were on Tuesdays for some reason, but usually on Wednesday we do volleyball. I go to the gym 2 to 3 other times a week, and I just practice volleyball. I find a wall, usually in the gym, and practice hitting, setting, everything. One of my favorite drills, I actually have a thing here. Let's see if I can get it without it just freaking out at me here because I am so new to this setup here. This is going to be the setup for when I do start streaming games more. That's partially what this was to practice that here. is there is a drill that I can do with the basketball courts. Let me just pop that up here. Oh, it's oh, da, da, da. Oh, okay. Well, I have to remake that source. Don't know why that's not showing up. Cool. Oh, I'm silly. I remember. I know why. I know why. Nope, sorry for that. I did not realize it wasn't balanced. And let me just see, where did it go? There we go. Let me just move me here. There we go. I'll be under the chat. Actually, I should be on top of it. Where are you? Oh, I can't go too far down. Okay. But there is a drill that I can do, which is you take a ball, you throw it at the backboard, and then you can do a bump. The bump set in volleyball is kind of your most standard. Let me just make sure that's a little lower. Um, is how you channel the motion of a serve. So somebody serves it or spikes it, you get low, you keep your arm straight, and then you squat up. You don't really move your arms to try to direct it back to your server or your setter. Uh, I have trouble getting it to the setter because you're not just supposed to hit it up, you're supposed to actually get it to the setter so that they can do something with it. This is just a clip from getting lucky and trying to get in, just having a little bit of fun getting it in the basketball court there. Usually you have to, I end up needing to bump it like 15 feet and like 8 feet to the left or right. And that, depending on the serve type, can either require a lot of extra energy or no extra energy. And it's kind of figuring out what I need to do and how much energy is actually in a serve, and how I have to compensate for that. Because if you do it too much, you give it back to the other team, and that's not good. They don't deserve that. You worked for that, and you don't want to do that for free. And the opposite part of that is you don't want it to go short because then your server has to ask for cover. Yeah, yeah, it's a low ceiling. It's not meant for volleyball. Like it's there's also a divider through the gym so that they can split it in half, I guess, for daycare and stuff like that. But it is not in the middle of the court. It is slightly more to one side. So if you're on one side of the court, you're more likely to hit that divider because it comes down from the ceiling by like a foot. I've also almost lost a ball in a window because they have like those uh, basement windows, those like thick pane, whatever, with like a cutaway into it, into the wall. I was doing that bumping, and I bumped it up, and it went slow and forward, and then it landed on the windowsill, 20 feet up. And then I threw my shoe at it, and that was a dumb idea. I didn't lose my shoe, but I was like, why did I do that? There's no way to get the shoe down. So somebody else was there with some basketballs, and they were like, yeah, we'll just throw stuff at it until it comes down. And got it on the first try because I would have been embarrassing to basically roof a basketball inside again, in addition to a volleyball. Uh, I'm very thankful they were there and willing to lend a hand because I was using a training volleyball and they're good. I think my training ball is 25 bucks. It is not the same as a game ready ball. A game ready ball has a different coating, has different aerodynamics, and it ran me, I think, when I got it, 80 bucks for that ball. It's worth it. It's a good high quality ball, but it is not something I want to lose up there. Family Union, yeah, the underhand serve is consistent. Some of our old timers only do that serve because that was the serve for like 60 years, and it makes sense because that's the only way I think you could serve a basketball over a volleyball court without breaking your wrist. uh, and there's especially some of the girls. We play on 8-foot nets, which is standard men's. We do, but we play co-ed. And usually co-ed nets are like 4 or 6 inches lower. Uh, so there's a couple things that are harder for most of the girls, which is hitting because they're generally smaller, but also some of them are the same height or taller than me. It's just harder for them. But the things that they do really well is most of the women that play with us are really good at receiving, really pretty good at setting, and generally pretty good at serving. And the heat that comes off those underhand serves is something else. I uh, I tried to go with the float serve. I was doing a two-handed delivery for it, like a two-handed throw to that, but it ended up being pretty wild. In this spate of recent games, I was able to start by doing the one-handed throw to toss up, and got some. They didn't float as wanted them to, but they did have more like heat on them. It's just as I was getting more tired, it got worse. So I just need to focus on that form, so I'm not thinking so much. Uh, Another part of it is just jumping. I think my vert, I did a test, a check of it over the summer was like 19 and a quarter inches. So just getting that even an inch or two higher would be helpful for hitting. Um, once again, I'm not very tall. I have long arms, but I'm not a tall person. Uh, so when I hit, I have to make sure that I clear the net. So I don't get the greatest angle, but even going up an inch or two would help, making sure that I more consistently can aim more downwards to get harder shots to receive. Because as it stands now, it is hard for me to hit it into the other team's 10-foot line, which is ideally where you'd want a spike to go because it's the hardest to receive it there. Besides just positioning, and this is how the girls usually score points when they do hitting, is spotting. So you either try to go for a sideline or a seam in between two other defenders or the back line and trying to make it look like it's going to go out or just making it otherwise hard or make it so there's more likely to be confusion. So choosing spots and all that. So far I haven't been blocked, which is nice because very often I get people that are a foot taller than me blocking, but so far I've been able to roll it over them. To Most recent one was just like I rolled it over, and usually that scores on that, but there was somebody behind them to pick it up, and it's like dang. But hitting is the thing. That and receiving are the two things I'm working on most, just because those are serving is the only thing you can do in volleyball that allows you to score points independent of your team. It is just important that even if you don't score on it, like a service ace, that you make it hard for the other team to score, so you get another chance. So you just want to get them out of system. You want to make it. You want to make them just feel like they have to survive to get another chance. So that's kind of the places where I'm at because I just want to make sure that I can. Yeah, and eventually, I'd like to try setting. The people have been very nice and they've been like, "Hey, you want to try setting this time?" And the answer is still no, because I don't have any practice in setting people, and I think it would actually be better for our teams if I was setting, just because I think some of the people that end up setting are better hitters than me, or more consistent to do explosive type hits. So it's something that after I get a bit more practice. So I have a friend who plays volleyball at a place at a big college, and they just have like open games. And he recently told me they have open games on Saturdays, and they're like 9 a.m. and his college is like 2 hours away. So I'd have to leave pretty early, but I like playing volleyball. So I'm gonna try to see if I can get a game or two in over there, um, and try not to embarrass myself too much. Uh, the in that I had towards volleyball was I think it was how do years work 2022 2018 was probably the 2018 what do you call that Olympics because the U.S. men's team was doing pretty well in that Olympics if I remember right, and I think I was at a bar and I just remember catching their games thinking, oh, this is neat. I didn't because all I knew was beach volleyball. I hadn't played either, but my dad liked beach volleyball. Uh, so I was like, that's cool. And then I think what has been a cultural touchstone for volleyball is the anime Haikyuu. Uh, Came along and I ended up watching that. Um, And that got me pretty hype on it. So that's how I got to that sport. Haikyuu's really good. Um, I it is not. Mm. So I think Haikyuu is in many ways, well, it's a contemporary of Kuroko no Basket, and Kuroko no Basket is a super power show basically, and Haikyuu isn't that, but it is one of those things where these what having played a little bit of volleyball, these high schoolers are doing things that are either pro level or higher, and that can be typical of a high team, like high skill ceiling team, which is not exactly what the show puts your protagonist as to begin with. Um, so I just threw up a couple clips here just to run over, and we'll see how hard this gets this everything flagged if it does. Um, yeah, Haikyuu is great for that. Like it is just a good sports story. Like it is just a good sports story. Um, I just have a let me just make sure that that's muted because I know the music will instantly get because YouTube hates this stuff. But I think I'm good to go over a couple clips, just like things that I had watched and went, "Oh, this is like playing it," or "This is splendid in a way that I didn't think of before." I mean, besides just stuff like Kagayama having uh, his ability to set, like that is something that probably Olympic level and top level players can do. It's wild that a high schooler would be able to do it. We actually had a new kid. He was a younger guy, probably like 17, 16, who came with his sister who also plays. But he was, I think, my height, maybe a little bit shorter, maybe like an inch shorter. But he outjumped me by almost twice. The, I don't know how to describe him except bouncy. Uh, he was super bouncy. And send it over normal, then that's usually fine. It's usually not kosher to do that and like have like a bad spike come off the wall and go into their side. Uh, so bench moving, totally something that you'd want to do. Uh, this one is people all together. Uh, and it shows in the show like synchronized attacks where everybody's moving all at once and they're trying to obscure the person behind them. When you have somebody running a slide, it stops all those other people from, or at least three other people from doing that motion and helping screen for everybody. Um, a slide, if not used as a distraction, is not a better weapon than having all the options presented by a multifaceted attack. Once again, he's special. It's anime. I know it's not real. Um, but as I played more, I was like, oh, slides, yeah, it's also just hard to set a slide because it is like a set play. You see it more in women's. Um, Part of that is because in general, there's not the same idea behind attack complexity. Um, yeah, I mean, like you could run slides as men, but when women, they're all kind of lower to the net, so the height that you lose on a slide doesn't matter as much. Um, and for women's play, it's less likely to be a hard spike that wins a point, rather than going up and either battling somebody and like knock and hitting it off them or choosing a better spot. So by limiting your options there, in men's, it's a option limiter, but in women's, it is another path that is used a bit more. Uh, this one this is I think that same team. No, this is that blue and yellow team. Um, I think this is my fourth or fifth game. I was very bad at receiving and being in the way, uh, but I know this feeling exactly. Where you start to understand, like you go in, your first game's amazing because you have the confidence of not knowing how you're wrong. So the next two games tend to be rough. So by the fourth game, you start to realize what you're doing and where you should be, at least a little bit better. And I think it was my fourth game. I went for a pass almost like that, and it hit me directly into the chest and rolled up my face, and hit me in the face. which is a point to the other team. That's a 2-touch. So it's embarrassing, and you give them a point. Uh, I've also had stuff like this where you try to go forward and it bounces off your shoulder, and it feels real silly. But at least that gives you enough forward momentum. There's one I think about a month ago that I did, where there was somebody who was really, really wrecking him off the line. He was somebody who didn't usually play at our place, but he did like a actual hard topspin serve, and I went down to receive it, and either it moved or I misjudged where it was coming down at, but I got hit directly in the right eye by that serve. And I wear an old pair of glasses that fit really tight to my face because I don't want to wear my normal day-to-day glasses while I'm playing sports because I don't want to lose them or damage them. Uh, but I was so sure that my glasses were broken, and thankfully they weren't. I bring my spare anyway. Uh, but everybody else looked at me like I had been actually punched in the face, and it was I played football. That little bit of a hit ain't that bad. We actually had somebody else get hit in the back of the head recently by a serve, and that was it's funny, but it's not funny, but it's funny. As long as everybody's okay, it's fine. But yeah, that feeling of I'm where I need to be, but I'm not in the position I need to be, is something that used to. Also, I think we had a fair amount of those because during the holiday season, we had more games of 4-on-4 and 5-on-5 or 5-on-4 and stuff like that. And when you have less people on a court, you have to cover more. So we have people that are very good at floating, because we have a lot of our people are smaller sized. Like we don't have a lot of really big people that play volleyball at our place. So when you're not as big as like other hitters, you rely on things like floating on serves. And if you're good at floating on serves, you can do some weird stuff on like standing hits that also do floats. So like you think you're on point. Like I had one last week where I was so sure that it was going to land where I thought it was, and at the last minute, I swear it curved to my right, and I completely whiffed it. And my teammates looked at me like I had 3 eyes. Like, how did you not get that? I was like, I swear it moved. I was there, man. It moved. It moved on me. I've also definitely had this moment here. Uh, I was actually plays, and it was beautiful. It was a big high arc, and I went, took my wide approach, took my steps, arms back, up, the whole thing, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to crush this. And I'm looking for where I'm going to hit it, and then I see the ball fall down in front of me. And I was so distracted by how good that jump felt and what I was going to do next that I just forgot about the important part of hitting. That is something that totally just happens. And I apologize so profusely to the setter because that was a beautiful set. There's another one that he did. This is quite a bit later. And this is a bit later in the game. He doesn't usually set, but he does sometimes. I was like, all right, well, I see everybody going. I've seen him set. This is going to be fine. It looks like he's going to his side. And he does a back set. And I was not prepared for a back set because I've never seen anybody do a back set in an actual game. So, he's completely vertical and he just flips it backwards. And it is a beautiful backward serve. And I am just scrambling to try to get there. And I end up bumping into the net. And I'm just like, I'm so sorry. I did not know that was an option on the table. I was thinking about where to be to cover for the other person. Because, in case they get blocked, you want to make sure that you're in a position where that blocked ball, that you're going to be in the way of that blocked ball. So I was, looking at where to cover and not necessarily where to hit from. One thing I have to work about more is calling for the ball more. I think sometimes I expect that somebody's going to see my focus and view that as okay, they're good to go. When I think sometimes it looks like, oh, that person looks tired, which I probably am because I always am. But yeah, I just have to be more vocal. I just have to call for it. So those are just some haiku moments, just things that I've noticed while playing the game. I'm like, oh yeah, this is something that actually happens. This is not like a splendorous thing. We did have somebody that did not submarine. I think it's submarine. The type of serving where it goes really high, where you do the underhand and you just pop it up into the air. They did it pretty well despite our low ceilings. Um, it wasn't enough. It got like 2 good points, and then after that, everybody kind of adjusted to that and they shifted off. Um, we have one guy who I think played soccer at some point. He plays hacky sack with volleyball and sometimes sets off of his foot, which is really interesting to see. But last week when I was playing this, I finally got knee pads, which I should have had from the beginning, and I got better sneakers. Turns out getting the equipment for the game makes you more able to play the game. So without worrying about destroying my knees on the court, I could dive for way more balls, which I was doing. Not super successfully, but I was there. I'm trying. I'll learn. I'll get better. Um, and I see this ball falling, and I get into position. And I start diving, and then I see him turn around because he plays a center. I see him turn around, and I see his foot start to go back, and I'm like, oh no, I can't do this. I'm going to get kicked in the face, and I don't go for it. And he also stopped because he's like, oh god, I'm going to kick him in the face. And there just wasn't enough time after that to reestablish one of us getting it. Um, and after that play, we did like one in between. I'm like, hey, you're not going to kick me in the face, right? I'm like, that ball like 2 balls ago, I could have had it. That was me. But I thought I was going to get kicked in the face, and I don't want that to happen. So and he's been one of the people that have been like more open with like telling me like what's good and what's bad about my game. So he's somebody that I trust to be like, yeah, I'm not going to kick you in the face. Um, we have some other people who are just like really really good at serving. Like he's one of them. But there's like 4 people in our group that to limit them to 2 points on a serve is a win. Where you're just like, please just let us survive and not let them get a run of 6 or 7 completes. We last week we were just unlucky. We didn't win a game. Part of that is when we had some of the new people come in, like the new guy's sister. She was just, I think, pretty shy and kind of new and didn't want to get in anybody's way, which is fine. But when you're not being aggressive, you're letting opportunities fall, which is fine. I'm not going. I've been new. I've been newer than they were because I've seen what they when they did finally get confidence. It's like, okay, you've played a bit. Um, so we had me, who is not great at receiving. I can usually get hit by the ball, but getting it to where it needs to get served is kind of my issue. And then we had somebody else who is usually a good receiver, but because we were playing down a person, was not used to how far they had to go. So they were just kind of off their game. But there's somebody that I know is a generally a good receiver. But between them having an off day and me being me, there was some points where it's like, yep, they're just going to get 6 points. We just have to hope our server says get 6 points to keep us in this. And that just was not happening. That just was not happening. Also being short as I am, I can't really block balls very good. Most of the people that actually go up for spikes, because like I said, a lot of the shorter people just don't even bother jumping for spikes. They just do like hits where they try to hit positions and they do like try to give it a spin to make it harder to receive. But some people do jump. All of them jump higher than me, which means I just do not really have the great ability to block them, which is fine. What I've been doing is just trying to channel their hits into a place. Like in all realness, they could probably just hit it over my hands. But I'm trying to be a decoy where it's like, hey, I'm here. You could see that I'm here. Don't you want to hit it that way? Maybe over there. Maybe you want to hit it over there. You know, just to try to guide these hits to a more receivable position. And so far, I think it's been helpful. And hopefully, once I get a better vert jump leap, it should be helpful in actually getting a block. I don't expect to ever like stop somebody, but if I can just tip it up to start something, because and this confused me because I feel like Haikyuu never explained this or I missed it. When you are blocking a ball, it doesn't count as one of your team's touches. So your side can touch the ball 4 times if the first time is a block. Because that it like even with double touching, it kind of doesn't count for blocks, sort of. So you have a bit more chances than like a block doesn't limit your offensive. In fact, it gives you more time for your offense if you can block it like that. So one of the biggest adjustments is when you jump, you can take up to 5 times your body weight in force when you land, um, which is a lot. I had gotten, you know, basketball shoes from Walmart, just something cheap that I could try and practice with. Um, I would definitely recommend that. Maybe get an extra insole or something like that and make sure they fit well. Um, but my knees were in so much pain in so many days. I actually didn't even come upstairs to go to my office to use my computer because I'm like, I can't do all those steps. Um, when I got actual shoes for volleyball, oh my god, the difference is so much more. Um, they don't seem like they'd be as cushy, but it just matters when that comes down. I am not a light dwarf. I think when I started playing in October, I was maybe in the worst shape of my life. I was around 280, 285. Um, I weighed myself before the blood test recently, the follow up that I had, and I was like 250, 255. So I've lost like 20, 25 pounds over the last 4 months almost, mostly just by watching what I eat. Like, I don't have to be obsessive about it, but it's just making sure that I'm trying to get more whole foods, more homemade foods, and just if I had a indulgence, the next meal or two isn't an indulgence. Like today, I had a burger and fries out because I wanted to treat myself. So tonight, when I make dinner, it's just going to be some salads. That's fine. Um, Changing what sweets I have, making sure to hydrate more. Um, some other things that have helped have been icing knees, like doing icings on my knees after, and also my shins. I got so much less shin splints when I switched to proper shoes. Uh, but using ice, 20 minutes on, 20 minutes off, has been very helpful in the aches and pains that you get. Because especially when you're building a muscle in a muscle group, you should be sore. Like, it's because your muscles break. Also, stretching. I spend so much more time stretching than I used to. And that's been very helpful in making sure that I have my legs and stuff like that for the longest part of the game and making sure they're not cooked as I get home. Beer is a great treat. I just don't drink a lot because, like, I still am trying to keep calorie restriction, and the beer's around 120 calories. And 120 calories is half of a bag of edamame, roughly. So like I have some things in my head that are just like this is it because I tend to be a night snacker, and part of the change of my diet was making sure the night snack was something more wholesome than like another meal. Uh, so it is, and also breakfast, like limiting breakfast. I was eating a lot for breakfast, and while I like to, um, I don't need to. Um, so trying to keep under 1,000 before lunch or before dinner, and then having dinner be around 1,500, kind of sort of thing. Just increasing the amount of protein as well, and trying to reduce carbs. Actually, with the most recent blood test, and I'll probably get a follow up on this, is my iron was actually pretty close to being low, which I attribute it like it's within the margin of error of being on the low side, like actually doing that. Um, but part of it is twofold. Is a I stopped eating as many carbs, and a lot of like flours and stuff like that have, and also just refined cereal grains have iron added to them. So I used to eat like breakfast cereal just in the car. It was easy. That was all iron fortified. I don't eat that anymore. So I lost that iron source. Also, because it got a lot more expensive and just for health reasons, I stopped eating as much beef, which is one of your better sources of meat based iron. Uh, so I stopped getting as much iron in my diet, and I started donating blood. And your hemoglobin is actually a measure of like the last 3 months of iron. Um, so I saw that and I went and bought an iron supplement. I don't want to eat a lot more beef. I'm fine. Once again, it's kind of pricey. Um, I don't need it. Um, I, I mean, I like beef. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, Flintstones with iron is perfect. I got like just a base iron supplement, and I just my goal is just to try to take it 2 or 3 times a week. Like, I don't need to go wild with it. Flintstone's actually better if you're doing daily stuff because I think it's lower in iron than a straight iron supplement. Um, but my kid tends to have gummy vitamins, and I just snag one or two of those. Hers aren't super iron fortified. Um, and I need more iron than she does anyway. So that might. I've been kind of tired for the last couple weeks, uh, pretty much all winter. So that would track is I'm doing all this activity and I am borderline anemic. So that would track. So I just started the routine today when I went to the market. I'm like, because I got the results back pretty recently. But also, like, my triglycerides went down by like 40 points. Like, all my levels, pretty much on the whole, except for the iron one, improved. Um, my blood glucose before was like 110 resting, and it was like 70 or 86. It was 86, which is completely normal. It's great. That's right. Most multivitamin vitamins don't have iron. That's right. Do you know why that is? I mean, with the asterisks for kids, because adult, like, there's some men's. So it's not necessarily that iron isn't good; it's that people think it's not good. Also, it can compound stuff. In my previous profession, I did a lot of childhood nutrition, and there's a small group of kids where it actually isn't good for them. Very small. Um, but when kids have, there's a twofold. So when iron can cause constipation if you have too much of it, which is, you get over it. But there's a lot of kids that have very limited diets that don't have a lot of fiber in them, and that compounds that problem because those kids already have issues. So they blame the iron, which is not necessarily the problem because if your child had a more varied diet, it would be less of a problem. But I get it; kids are picky. But also, if you don't have access to foods, and you got to make do with what you have, I get it. Um, the other part of it is um, the people that perceive that that's the issue, um, especially with kids. Parental perception of qualities is almost as important as actual qualities itself. Like, I, there's a story that I have from when I was doing that. I had this family. Grandma came in with grandson, and and mom. All three of them. It's like, oh, or he's having diarrhea. Da, 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 start it, and they're like, well, he got a vaccine. Do you think that caused it? And I'm like, well, by the timeline you told me, they had this before that vaccine, so probably not. Is there anything else that changed? And they're like, oh, he started eating pretzels as a snack. And I'm like, oh, like how many? What type of pretzel? And kid was eating like a fifth of a bag of pretzels a day. Something that can cause things like diarrhea are osmotic. So stuff like excessive salt, excessive sugar. Your body goes, there's too much solute in you. Let me take out fluid from my intestines to flush this out so this doesn't become a problem. So I'm like, well, you could try reducing the amount of pretzel snacks to see if that helps. Um, and they're like, okay, we can give that a try. I'm like, I didn't say to stop, just reduce the amounts. I'm not going to tell anybody to stop. Um, like 2 weeks later, I get a call from grandma, and she was like, you know, um, hey, are you sure it wasn't a vaccine? I'm like, okay, what? I mean, I'm not sure about anything, but why are you thinking it might still be an issue? She's like, well, I don't know where else it could have come from. Like, did he stop? Is he still having diarrhea? She's like, no, it reduced. And I'm like, oh, like, was there any changes? She's like, well, we reduced the amount of snacks he got. I was like, oh, cool. So you reduced the intake of stuff, and the stuff stopped. So yeah, it's probably not that other thing. And that's that's just public health in a nutshell, where you have to try very hard to not be sarcastic to people because it would be so cathartic to just say that. But then you lose those people. Like, I had somebody who was very anti-vax, and I didn't push it. I'm like, whatever, your kid. We recommend them, but if you want to talk to your doctor about it more. And I saw this woman and her kids, I think, for a year or two. And then before I left, maybe a couple months, she was like, well, I was thinking about getting the vaccines. Is there any, you know, is it bad to get them after not getting them for so long? And I'm like, that probably shouldn't be an issue. I mean, I'd speak with your medical provider, but yeah, I mean, and you maybe even could talk to them about a different schedule or something like that. Because by not burning that bridge with that person, by making them feel stupid, they were able to experience things and be open to asking somebody who wasn't going to critically judge them uh, a path forward to something that was ultimately better for their kids. So that's public health in a nutshell. Anybody that works in public health will understand that phenomenon. Because oh man, you want people to do the best for themselves, but when you lose people, you really lose people. And you just have to make sure that people aren't doing um, maliciously harmful things uh, to people around them. So, there's times I miss it. My old job did have I dealt with the younger side of clientele, so I do miss seeing kids grow up. I was always nice. I'm I work now not in public health at all, in government stuff, but on the other end of life. So every couple months or every couple weeks, I look through and go, okay, you're dead, you're dead, you're dead. I'm just like, man, I hope it isn't somebody that I liked. It's a totally different world. Uh, and as far as like nutrition for volleyball, it is just your protein is good. Um, it's not the end all be all. You'll still need to eat other stuff. Like I still also eat junk food sometimes. Like Wednesdays, Whoppers are cheaper, and I like me a good Whopper. Wednesday is also my volleyball day. If there's any day that I could do with a couple extra calories, it's probably the day before I spend 2 hours being intensely physically active. Um, and it is also just making sure that um, there is more opportunity for leafy greens and other variety. Um, because if you just have a bunch of protein stuff, you're gonna have a lot of issues. And also your body's just like not gonna get used to it. You're probably gonna have a lot of GI issues if you just go straight into, especially manufactured protein sources. I don't think there's anything wrong with them, but if your body's not used to them, also a lot of them have like either alternative types of sweeteners like sweet sugar alcohols or other ones, and also if your body's not used to those, they can cause side effects. Um, but as far as like team sports for fitness, dude, it's a great idea. I mean, until like my knees explode, but hopefully that's a fair amount of time from now. Um, but it allows you to do something together that inspires you to be better. I mean, and some people don't need that. I know my sister-in-law really liked running marathons, and that was her in. She just liked to see her time go down and liked to see how much farther she could go, and that was her challenge. And she also tended to run with people. A lot of solo people still tend to do things with other people. Um, social is a big aspect of just everything. That's just being human. Um, so I am trying. I need to figure out keyframing because that one small clip I did of that bump going into the basketball hoop, that took me about 20 minutes to keyframe in. And I know there's a way to do tracking in DaVinci. I'm just not good at it yet. But I need to talk with my group because I want to record a game or two. Um, I tend to record my practices every so often just to see where I'm at and what I can improve on and maybe where I'm not doing what I need to do. It's kind of hard to figure it out when you're doing it, but having a visual reminder is helpful. So how you do in a game is different than practice. You want to try to be like practice. Um, but if I'm able to get a recording of my games, I do want to try to obscure the faces of the other people because I'm sure they don't want that, but also try to get some clips of some fun stuff that happened. Um, it's amazing how good of a camera iPhones are now. I'm just blown away every time. DaVinci's hard to learn. Yeah, you know what? But to me it is no harder than Adobe Photoshop and Adobe Premiere when I use those. I've done some work in DaVinci. None of it has been for this. So I do have some experience with it, and there's a podcast that I do that I do part of the editing with it. So I'm just doing the reps. Yeah. YouTube is a great friend of just, hey, how do I do this? I think it could do a better job of telling you what kind of view or mode you're looking at things in and how to differentiate sources from live and stuff. But um, I always had issues with Premiere and Adobe Photoshop also just being weird. Um, Honestly, when I do video like the thumbnails, I make them on IBIS X, which is just a thing that people use for mobile and tablets because it's like $2 a month, and I've used it for years, and it just has really simple, slick, quick tools for uh, like cutting faces out and stuff like that. Um, and like I don't think I've ever actually made a desktop a thumbnail on my desktop. I think I've always done it on my phone, just because IBIS X is so good. Um, yeah, yeah, the workflow thing is just I still feel like I'm learning everything that I ever do in DaVinci the first time, besides just base cutting and putting sensor bleeps. Like those are the two things that I have muscle memory for is cutting and sensor bleeps. Everything else is new. Like when I made that stinger for the collab that I did with Lizzie, we still have to finish that game. Um, that was pretty much all the images there, and even the videos were all edited on the iPhone and just finished, and resolution was changed in DaVinci. Canva. Yeah, I just never like I started, and then I just found IBIS X and went from there. And yeah, OBS is so powerful. Like I see so many people recommending like Streamlabs and all these other things, but base OBS is just such a powerful tool that as long as you can keep it organized, it's probably going to do you fine. Like I have used it for so many things, streaming and recording wise, uh, and it's just such a good piece of software. It's up there with like VLC and WinRAR as like, wow, you give this away for free. I don't have to pay for this. You just let me do this. Also, kind of DaVinci, just like you just let me do this. This is free. Thank you. Yeah, uh, like uh, beside like I don't bother with alerts and stuff like that. I I hardly even offer deal with chat overlays. I don't do all that stuff. I don't need to. Like maybe when you get bigger and you need something else, or if you feel that you need to differentiate yourself, you do all that. But eh, I feel like my differentiation is done by the projects or the topic. Eh. Well, for the next stream, I want to carve spoons. I don't have actual spoon gouges, but you know what I mean. Neither did cavemen, and they made spoons. I can figure it out. I do have some maple in the basement that I have had for a while that I just haven't done anything with. I think that would be a great wood to use. So I'm going to try to get the shop in order. I might actually end up doing a gameplay stream. I, I might put out a poll for what game to stream, but I might just do what I want. I'm not quite sure yet. Because I'm thinking in the future of, because I have a Twitch account, I should be doing something with it. And I like that YouTube. We can both do it. Look, we can both do it, and then we can like rag on each other for our spoon constructions or whatever. Just like with blacksmithing, it's fine. Um, is I think for Twitch, and I like having YouTube be a place where crafting and stuff like that happens. I know I've done a couple video game plays, but it just never kind of felt right for the feel of everything else. Like, I don't want it to be like a what's going to be here this time. So I feel like if I want to do game stuff, I put them on Twitch and then upload them as a VOD onto a separate channel. Um, yeah, yeah. I mean, that's just what I do with Twitch. It's just to hang out with people. Uh, but it opens up a different avenue to meet people through, and also it allows me to do the potential game streams for times like when I don't have access to my shop or don't have any interesting projects to stream. Um, so I still think I would do things like Zatsus like this here. Why am I so small now? Like on this channel, just like I don't want you to expect video or expect crafting and talking, and then have there be a video game. You know, I don't know. Who knows? Maybe I'll try it and I won't like it, and then I'll change from there. Um, but I just feel like I have a different account, and I just want to do that, and I'll give some heads up about it. Um, but I think I've gone. I figured I'd go for about an hour. Just kind of get back into it. I still have to make it dinner, and I have a meeting with some other dwarves. Turns out there's just like a council of dwarves, of dwarven VTubers, and yeah, so there's like a group meeting to go over like collabs and stuff like that. Uh, the scary thing about gaming shoot, yeah. I mean, I if you don't clean up the shop, who will? It's not going to clean itself, despite how badly I'd love it to. I mean, for me, gaming streams is I in general just don't. I don't stream for longer than I think 2 hours is my longest, just because I have attention span issues. I have a hard time watching movies. So for me to sit down at something and game and entertain while gaming for 2 hours, that's kind of at the edge of my limit. Yeah, true, true. Not having to clean. Uh, true, true. I mean, I'm kind of bad about cleaning. I leave shavings on the ground. I just kick them under the desk. I'm like, oh, I'll get to you later. But that's how I end up in the spot where I am now, where I'm like, I need to reorganize everything. So I mean, you got it right by actually cleaning up after streams. Uh, I need shelving. I need a chemical shelf. Right now, I just have a chemical box, and a box of chemicals is a bad storage for chemicals. It makes so you can't find anything quickly, and if anything leaks, it leaks over other chemicals, and that's not a good recipe. That's not a recipe for success. Yeah, I mean, the thing is like, I like video games. I love, dare I say, video games. The types of video games I like, I don't think have great mass appeal, especially to people that also like crafting. Like on Friday, there's going to be a dev stream for Foxhole, um, for the Airborne update. We're supposed to be getting more news about the Airborne update, and the next war that's happening now has an end date of February 2nd. So we're that whole game's going to change. And last year I put 1,000 hours into that game, actually a little bit more, like 1,100 hours into that game. Um, and I'm probably going to do that similar. But a lot of that game the way that I play it is sitting on a small train clicking through menus, which I don't think is great stream material. Um, like there's one or two streams I want to do. There's a for Unreal Engine. There's a way to VRify that game. Um, any Unreal game, Unreal 4 game. And because I'm part of the Naval Regiment, being a bird's eye person on a naval ship in combat seems like a pretty neat idea. I'd have to do a lot to set that up, but like that's cool. But like Foxhole itself is a game that is so based around Intel, you have to like stream on a delay, like a 10 or 20 minute delay, just to make sure you're not compromising. If you're at high levels, if you're just a guy on the front line, it probably does not matter. But I am not that. I'm more planning and logistics. So anything that I'm doing is to be helping other people do those things and are something that is interceptable. So yeah, I mean you can stream any people stream Eve Online. And that that is that's a choice. That's a choice. Um yeah, not a choice I would make, but um yeah, also just like I don't know. I also like a lot of multiplayer games, but I like playing those with friends, and my friends don't want to be in general recorded, which is fine. I'm totally okay with that. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna try to force them into that opinion. And if there's anything I actually do want to record with them, I'd reach out and let them. I'd ask them. I have some friends that I know would be down for it, but some don't. Um, I don't, in general, like playing multiplayer games with complete strangers. In general, uh, I mean, it can be fine from time to time, but like if I'm gonna set up a time to do it, I'm gonna set it up with real people. Um, I I try to prioritize real connections. I internet is beautiful. I've met a lot of great people, uh, but I have been through periods of my life where I have chosen things in digital realm over actual people. that I've known, and I have learned from those mistakes and am a wiser person now. Yeah. Um, well, not to say it's completely bad. You might not have the same net, but I'm blessed to have a support net of uh, people that I talk to and see on a regular. So just trying to prioritize that. I'm surprised you didn't go to Magfest. Were you just not able to this year, or? Ah, I know a lot of people were going this year. It seems to have gotten quite a following from people that I would not expect to want to go to Magfest. Magfest is one of those conventions that is realistic for me to attend in the future. We'll see how everything shakes out after. Turns out, after your child leaves daycare, you save money, but then you remember summer is a thing, and yeah, that's going to be a significant sudden expense to have somebody watch your kid for 3 months. uh, my job is stupid in that they got rid of their remote, fully remote, and they do partial remote where I'm 4 weeks on, 4 weeks off. So kind of the worst of both worlds. So like, if it was full remote, I would be able just to uh stay home and watch my daughter while I'm working. I mean, she'd be bored to tears, but it's an option. But ain't now because they took away full remote, which really shooting yourself in the foot here for employee retention. Uh yeah, I mean, if your friend group ain't big on it, I had a couple friends that were really into it, but it was just like when they were into it was like 2016, 2018, 2019. Um, and it was just I had chose those years to go to Gen Con instead. And then there's PAX Unplugged. That's a bit closer to me, and that was the convention we went to. Because my friend was mostly around table gaming. They're not so much around like multimedia acts and stuff like that. Um, Also, my group of friends likes table games, but is I don't want to say adversarial to the people that make them, uh, but I I know for a fact that the people I play with, if they were to meet the developers for games that they would like, they would shake their hands, go, "I like your game. I wish you didn't make it bad." And it's like you guys are toxic. So like panels and stuff like that just don't appeal to them. They don't have any um, uh, hero worship. They don't have any adoration for the creators. They appreciate their work. They give them money, but they don't want to like be in a room with them. Gen Con is amazing. I enjoyed it so much. Uh, the easiest way to get, I think, Gen Con is to volunteer. It can kind of suck. Um, I know Paizo, at least they used to. I have to double check their policy now. But if you ran a certain amount of games, they would even get you a hotel room. You had to share it with other people volunteering, but there's a lot of volunteer opportunities for various companies and all that, and like probably like a third of all the hotel rooms that are taken up from that event are for people that are volunteering. Um, it might be different now, but also when I went, Ubers and stuff like that were cheap enough and plentiful enough that you could actually stay like out of walking distance. Yeah, I mean, I could totally see that. Gen Con was not, from what I see, super strict about their conventions. Because they just figure you're there. Uh, yeah, I could totally see that. I don't think I had anybody even badge check me. I think they're just like, whatever. Actually, my biggest haul from them is maybe one day I'll do a stream with them. But I got silicone molds for dental plaster to make terrain for like RPGs and stuff like that, and they're great. I've used them to great effect for like keystone scenes and public and private tables. It is a bit messy, but it's really cool because you can tell your players to trash them, or if they break like a wall, you can actually break it. And I always thought that was cool. I also do have like a set of Dwarven Forge terrain Uh, and I've been meaning to just bring it to my friends because we play Pathfinder at my friend's place, and I'm always like, well, if you have like a set piece place, instead of drawing a map, we can just use these tiles that I paid $300 for 10 years ago. Um, and he's like, yeah, I'll get to you, and then we just never connect on that. So I think if I just leave them at his house, um, he'll be more open to the idea of getting those ready because we have some very visual people, me included. Um, and it's a good. I enjoy terrain in tabletop games. I enjoy it a lot. I spend a disproportionate amount of time of my life in making terrain for tabletop games, painting it and all. I still have stuff for BattleTech in the basement that I have to get together. I have to borrow a map to finish it. Uh, Man, now I just want to play BattleTech. I haven't played BattleTech in months. That's the thing. I don't have enough time to do every hobby, and I'm just enraptured with the hobby of volleyball right now. But also, it is my physical activity. So I do. I don't have an overall goal of like what I want my weight to be or anything like that. It's really just I want to jump 2 inches higher. I want to be better at volleyball, and I figure that'll be enough to kind of carry me until I need to do something else. Hopefully, we get some tournaments in. We'll see how that goes. Um, I don't think I'd be great at tournaments, but I think it'd be fun. I know, man. Too many hobbies. I also gotta get that laptop fixed so I can and finish the bellows. Somebody actually in the Dwarven Discord recommended jean denim material instead of canvas, and that was like, why didn't I think of that? That's cheap, it's replaceable, and it's relatively airtight, especially if you wax it. And it's natural cotton, so it'll smolder instead of melt. It's like that's genius. Yeah, I just it's just a bolt of inspiration. So I have what I have now, but I'm looking to buy bolts of denim for after that inevitably fails. Yeah, true, true. I always like seeing those old denim like jeans that people find in mines and stuff like that. It's cool stuff. So I think let me just check my calendar real quick. I think the next stream will be in 2 weeks. I don't think I have enough time for next week, but I think the week after I will have time for a stream. And then once we get further away from the winter, I will have more time to stream. Just the way that winter cracks out, I just get less time. Um, but I will post that more about that when I know that more. Know that more. Regardless, I'm going to go eat dinner. Thank you for joining me. I've been Mutgren Oatwald, and this is Dad's old shop. Yeah, right. Denim tents. I'll tell you, they're fashionable though. Take it easy. Have a good night. Oh, wrong scene. Wrong scene. Oh my god, my scenes are all a mess.